even after the Abcake attack, one would have expected the price to go up. What was surprising is it didn't go up that much and came down really quickly. I think the reason is that there's a lot of oil out there. I think that the U.S. shale is like a cushion. It's not only changed the structure of the market, it's changed the psychology of the market. And also, I think the trade war and what it's done to world trade and demand has been a damper on any kind of reaction. But it is amazing. You lose Iran, most of Iran, you lose, I mean, right now, Venezuela produces half as much oil as one state, North Dakota.
Why isn't the price lower then?
Well, because there's still demand is out there. In fact, you know, there's been some tightening there, but it's, you know, I mean, the specter is, of course, at what point could it go lower, or what would go it lower? I think if there's a protracted period, you know, if there isn't hope for a trade deal, if that fades away, if the weakness, the contraction of world trade continues, then you would have downward pressure on price.
I know I keep harping on this, and I do, but I'm very curious to get your take on this, because we've talked about what the election could mean for the energy outlook. And frankly, when we hear the leading Democratic candidate, Elizabeth Warren, espousing her views on climate change and her dismissal of fracking and distrust of fracking, there has to be a conversation being had, at least behind closed doors, or maybe it's happening out in the open and we're having it right here, about how dangerous potentially that could be for national security.
Yeah, well, I think that once you get into the spring and it becomes clear after Iowa, after California.
She's leading in the polls.
Yes. So March 3rd is a Super Tuesday. If she's in the lead, then I think that becomes a factor that hangs over oil. Because, of course, in the U.S., oil production is primarily regulated by the states. But there is so much that the federal government could do, 1,000 cuts with regulations and so forth. And to just say she's against fracking shows a total lack of understanding. And by the way, this has been one of the most dynamic parts of the U.S. economy. You're talking about millions of jobs, and it's just some notion. And they're not even able to explain what they don't like about fracking.
Well, maybe they don't like the fact that the gas methane distribution into the atmosphere is part of it. If this industry can get better at curtailing some of the negative effects, then surely that would take away some of those arguments.
Well, that's very much on the agenda, and particularly methane abatement, and I think we've seen the industry and the large companies moving in that direction. But the notion that just to say, I'm going to stop fracking, it is like this all-encompassing term. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Ben Bernanke said after the financial crisis, he came to our CERAWeek conference and he said, you know, that this shale revolution in the United States is one of the most positive, he said, the most positive thing to have happened to the U.S. economy since 2008. And it affects every state. It affects manufacturing. It's 2/3 of business investment. Like, folks, and it's millions of jobs.
And it also is a matter of national security.
Yeah, that's right.
Speaking to Rick Perry, this is the question. Doesn't this give the United States?
Columbia said to us earlier on as well, the U.S. will never be independent of global oil prices.
But that doesn't mean that they don't have a stick.
That's true. It's one market. But suddenly to have the U.S. as this 12.5, 13 million barrel a day player changes the dynamic of the market, changes the psychology of the market, and certainly has an effect on psychology in this region.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.